The shocking Bible truth behind Israel-Palestine's 4,000-year haunting feud. Discover now. A young historian, clutching her worn notebook, stumbled upon secrets buried deeper than the ancient ruins she studied. She felt it in her bones, the air thick with the weight of history, the echoes of long-forgotten voices begging to be heard. The shadows seemed to twist and writhe. She could almost see them whispering the truths of this eternal conflict, truths that could shatter the very foundation of everything she thought she knew. The strange symbols carved into the stones seemed to pulsate, resonating with an energy that made her skin crawl. The locals spoke in hushed tones of a curse, one that had clung to the land, snaking its way through families and generations. They claimed the wailing winds carried the cries of lost souls, caught in a battle that spanned millennia. Whenever the sun dipped below the horizon, the shadows came alive, flitting between the ruins, as if reenacting the bloodshed that had soaked the earth. It sent shivers up her spine, a reminder of the violent past never far below the surface. Yet, the oddest thing was a peculiar relic unearthed just days ago, a fragment of an ancient tablet. The markings weren't just letters, they were a prophecy, or so the townspeople murmured. Whispers of a truth that could turn the tide, the promise of peace or the threat of destruction. The mere idea hung in the air like a lightning storm, crackling with tension and uncertainty. Her heart raced, fear tightening in her chest as she traced the symbol with trembling fingertips. Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Her mind raced, images of the battle between the two peoples flooded her thoughts. What if that fragment held the key to a peace no one dared to dream of? Or was it just another cruel joke of history, pushing them further into conflict? The crowd around her was still, as if holding its breath, waiting for a revelation. An old man, eyes wide with fear, muttered something about the stars aligning, his knotted hands trembling. Then, something in the distance caught her eye, figures moving through the dusty twilight, like shadows come to life. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest. Were they the lost souls seeking justice? Or something more sinister? She stepped closer, every instinct warning her to run, but curiosity gripped her feet to the ground. This was just the beginning, and she knew deep down that the truth was closer than ever. What would happen next? The air buzzed with potential, and she stood on the brink of discovering either a new dawn or a devastating dusk. The dim silhouettes moved closer, their outlines sharpening against the deepening night. She squinted, trying to recognize the figures, her breath quickening as they approached. Fear clawed at her throat, and yet, an undeniable pull led her forward. Each step felt monumental, echoing through her bones like reverberations of history. The symbols on the ancient stone continued to bubble in her mind, almost singing to her. Were they alive, too? The thought terrified her, yet she couldn't look away. The shadows that jumped around her now felt different, charged with energy, almost as if they were urging her to reveal the secrets of the land. As the figures emerged into the faint light cast by a nearby lantern, she recognized the faces. They were locals, but now, something else flickered in their eyes, a glint of fear mixed with expectation. One of them, a woman with wild curls and skin weathered by the sun, stepped forward. She seemed to vibrate with urgency, and a haunting whisper escaped her lips. The prophecy, the woman gasped, her voice shaking with raw emotion. You must understand, it is not what it seems. The historian felt a chill dance down her spine. What do you mean? She managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. The tablet, it does not promise peace. It reveals a choice. The woman's eyes darted between the historian and the shadows that encompassed them. A choice that could seal our fate forever. The historian's mind whirled. How could something so small hold such power? The weight of it pressed down on her, and everything she once believed shifted underfoot. What choice? What was the price of uncovering this truth? From the back of the gathered crowd, a man stepped forward, his brow furrowed with worry. You have to understand, the curse spoken of by our ancestors is real. Whoever holds the tablet holds the power to either end the conflict or unleash chaos far beyond our comprehension. Questions swarmed in her head, each one more frantic than the last. The locals were betting their future on an ancient fragment. Could it really be true? Her instincts screamed at her this was dangerous. As tension crackled in the damp air, a scream erupted from the outskirts of the gathering. The sound cut through the murmurs like a blade, freezing everyone in place. A figure stumbled into view, panting heavily, fear etched across her features. They are coming! She shrieked, glancing back over her shoulder, her terror palpable. The crowd erupted into chaos, panic-stricken voices overlapping as people rushed to find safe ground, eyes darting nervously. The historian felt an icy grip in her chest. Who was coming? And why were they terrified? Before she could make sense of the madness, the old man, still trembling, turned to her with urgency. If you don't reveal the truth soon, it will be too late. Her heart raced. This was the moment when everything she feared and hoped collided. The shadows thickened around her, alive with stories, secrets, and warnings. In that moment, she made a vow she would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. But would it lead to salvation or destruction? Just as she stepped forward, the darkness whispered again, this time more insistent. The moment has come, start the clock, young historian. And remember, not all truths are meant to be unveiled. Her pulse thudded in her ears as darkness crept closer. What came next would determine everything she held dear and possibly the fate of many. She could sense the stirring winds carrying the weight of choices yet unmade. The shattered past echoed through her, and she realized this was only the beginning. What awaited her in the deepening shadows? Something profound was brewing, and she could feel the pulse of history urging her to find out. The air grew thick with unease, every breath feeling like a distant memory. The scream still hung in the air, reverberating off the rocks as people scurried away from the gathering. The historian stood paralyzed, pulsating energy coiling around her like a serpent ready to strike. They're coming, the wild-haired woman whispered again, fear flickering in her eyes like a candle on the verge of snuffing out. The ones who will stop at nothing to keep the truth hidden. Her heart hammered in her chest as she scanned the crowd, faces contorted with panic. There was a raw edge to their fear, something primal that sent jolts of adrenaline through her veins. The shadows were no longer just a curious phenomenon, they now carried whispers of doom. Who? The question burst from her lips, desperate for clarity. Who is coming? Before the woman could respond, a low rumble swept through the air. It was dissonant, twisting like a living thing. The ground beneath her feet seemed to vibrate, and she instinctively took a step back. The surrounding locals also hesitated, eyes wide and glancing toward the sound that reverberated like thunder ahead. We tread on the land of ancient promises, the old man ground out, gripping her arm tightly. Do not underestimate those who wish to exploit this moment. As the historian's gaze turned toward the direction of the sound, a new figure broke from the tree-line, a tall shadow draped in darkness, moving with an unnatural swiftness. Even from a distance, a sense of dread enveloped her, tightening around her throat like a noose. The woman pressed her hand to her chest. If you hold the tablet, you bring them here. They will come for it. They cannot afford to let it fall into the wrong hands. Panic surged again, mingling with urgency as the historian thought of the carved stone she had unearthed. Could it truly call forth danger? Could it ignite something ancient and terrible? The crowd began to retreat, footsteps scrambling in the dirt. The historian felt a strong pull toward the tablet. What if it held the key to preventing whatever horror was approaching? Could she alter its fate? Stay with us. We need all the light we can get. The old man's voice boomed above the din, rallying a few remaining souls, but the words fell flat against the growing tide of fear. Another shadow joined the first, and then another. The historian squinted, the darkness almost palpable as figures emerged, their edges blurred yet distinct. "Get the tablet," a rough voice commanded. "Now." A figure stepped forward, a man holding a glimmering dagger that caught the moonlight like a beacon. His eyes burned with a mix of ambition and malice. There was a weighty presence behind him, a group of severe faces drawn tight with intention. They were here for the curse, the one that the locals had spoken of, the one that she had unwittingly awakened. The historian's mind raced. She was propelled between her fear of the approaching figures and the knowledge that she held something crucial in her hands. If she could understand what the tablet truly represented, perhaps she could defend the village, maybe herself, but the urgency froze her in place. As if sensing her hesitation, the figures advanced, closing the distance. "Time is running out," the wild-haired woman cried, her voice thick with desperation. "You must decide whose truth will set you free, and who will pay for it." The historian's body trembled. Fear and determination battled within her. What she did next could unleash a storm unlike any other. As the shadows loomed large, her chest tightened. Would she reveal the truth before the darkness consumed them all? With the razor-sharp instincts of survival, she propped herself for the coming clash, determination blazing as high as the flickering lanterns around them. And just like that, beneath the canopy of a sky heavy with stars, she took a fateful step forward. What awaited her in that electrified moment? Would she stand her ground against the encroaching shadows, or would darkness claim its prize and turn the tides of fate? The moment she stepped forward, a chill rushed through her. The very air felt charged, as if the world held its breath. The dagger glinted, and the man wielding it stepped closer, his presence radiating a threat that made her skin prickle. Behind him, the figures loomed like harbingers of doom, eyes cold and intentions prickly with malice. "Give it to me," he ordered. His voice cut through the chaos around them, as commanding as thunder. "No." The old man's roar rang out, fierce and protective. "You have no idea what you're asking for." He stepped in front of the historian, making her heart swell with both gratitude and urgency. His resolve was a shield against the encroaching darkness, but then the shadows seemed to pulse around him as if hungry for resistance. The historian felt the weight of the tablet in her bag, a tangible reminder of the secret it held. What if it truly contained knowledge powerful enough to push back this darkness? Or worse, what if it called forth even greater horrors? "Don't you see?" the wild-haired woman yelled, her eyes darting between them. "You're flirting with an ancient curse. The dagger is not a weapon, it's a key." The urgency swirled, and fear churned in her stomach. The villagers behind her stared with wide eyes, helpless and frozen in place, rooted by shock. Their bravery had fled along with their footing, leaving behind only panic. "Enough." The man spat, his voice rising with impatience. "The tablet belongs to the order, and I will take it." In that moment, the historian made her choice. With a swift motion, she unslung the bag from her shoulder and held it close. It felt impossibly heavy. "You can't have it," she shot back, breathing hard, adrenaline surging through her veins. "You don't understand what it means." The shadows advanced, closing the gap, and the historian took a trembling breath. She needed to think of something, anything that could buy them time. "You don't want this. It's more than you can reckon with." Her voice echoed with desperation and defiance. The man's lips curled into a sinister smile. "Is that a challenge?" Just then, the ground shook again, more violently this time. The trees trembled and a deep, guttural sound echoed from the depths of the forest behind them. A beast, or perhaps something worse. Panic erupted anew among the villagers, screams echoed as they stumbled backward, some falling to the ground. The historian turned her gaze to the advancing shadows, desperate to discern what lay beyond. "Do you see?" the wild-haired woman shouted again, showing urgency unlike before. "Whatever you unleash when the tablet is taken will not just claim you. It will claim everyone." Beneath the weight of her words, the historian felt an icy tendril wrap around her heart. This was no mere struggle for control. This was a battle for survival. "What is it going to be?" the man asked, dagger raised, eyes glinting with purpose. An unholy alliance was brewing, and the historian knew she stood at the crossroads of something monumental. With her eyes on the shadows crawling closer and the growing tension thick in the air, she clutched the tablet tightly. There was no turning back now. Whatever decision she made would ripple through time, unveiling a truth destined to shatter the fabric of everything they knew, but in the depths of that moment, as darkness lunged forward, would she unleash salvation or summon despair? The bitter taste of uncertainty filled her mouth, and the ground quaked louder, demanding action. The question lingered, heavy and chilling: how far would she go to protect what she had unearthed? A piercing scream shattered the tension, a woman's voice rising above the chaos. It was one of the villagers. She had stumbled and twisted her ankle while retreating, a terrified expression frozen on her face. The moment hung thick in the air, the dagger wielder's eyes flicking toward the sound, curiosity mingled with menace. Enough games. His tone echoed through the devastation, slicing like a knife. I want to ask again. The historian felt her heart race. Every instinct urged her to flee. Yet, the weight of the tablet and the old man's unwavering stance rooted her to the spot. She could afford no weakness now. What is your plan? The wild-haired woman shot at her, voice trembling in urgency. What are you waiting for? Suddenly, the ground shook again, the deep sound from the forest growing louder, a low rumble that seemed to resonate from the very core of the earth. Trees began to sway, some bending ominously as if they knew terrible revelations lay ahead. The villagers were losing hope, their eyes darting in panic for any escape, but the historian felt something deeper: a push, a pull, as if she were tethered to the chaos around her. Stay close to me. The old man barked, his presence a fierce bastion against the swirling shadows. What will happen if he gets that tablet? She whispered urgently. If the legends are true. He hesitated, his voice low, sinking with gravity. It could awaken forces best left asleep. Dark forces hungry for chaos. The man moved forward, now inching closer, insatiable ambition burning in his eyes. You're right, you understand the danger, but you still don't see the bigger picture. Give it to me, and I will protect everyone here. He took another step, darkness spilling from behind him like ink in water, creeping toward the villagers, toward her. The historian's breath hitched. Suppress that darkness, she thought wildly. Or unleash it. Desperation clawed at her chest. She couldn't let him lay claim to the tablet. But the consequences of keeping it could be catastrophic. Listen to me. She cried out, determination brimming. If you're willing to spill blood for that tablet, then you're already in league with the dark forces it promises. His smile twisted, revealing something vicious beneath. Maybe I am. In that moment, the earth shuddered violently, a force that rattled bones and spilled the dust of déjà vu into the air. The branches of trees above splintered with a crack that echoed like thunder, and in that split second, all eyes turned toward the forest, the source of that horrid growl now nearing them. Prepare yourselves. The wild-haired woman screamed, fists clenched, eyes shining with resolution and fear. The beast awakened by greed will not discriminate. At that moment, shrouded in shadows, emerged something massive and terrifying. It was like nothing they'd seen, part beast, part myth, eyes glowing with a malevolent hunger. There it stood, a traverser of ages and nightmares, and an embodiment of the very darkness that had been beckoned. Is this what you sought? The historian shouted over the noise, her voice steadier than she felt. The man laughed, infatuated with his hubristic belief in control. No beast will deter me. You are all too weak to comprehend what awaits. But as he lunged toward her, dagger aimed for the tablet, she understood the truth that lay before her. In that heartbeat, with dread creeping and chaos unfurling around her, she knew a choice must be made: surrender the tablet or unleash unfathomable terror. The villagers whispered prayers, the ground still quaked beneath them, and time seemed to stretch out in torturous slow motion. Would she embrace the darkness to protect those she cared about? Or could that very act of defiance shatter their fates even more? As the beast lunged forward, everything she loved dangling on a precipice, the stakes skyrocketed. The question lingered as the shadows grasped at her: were they ready for the grip of fate? The beast crashed toward them like a storm, claws outstretched, eyes gleaming with primal rage that stripped the air of hope. The historian's heart pounded, each beat echoing the villagers' gasping breaths. She could feel the raw fear rippling through the crowd, and her own pulse threatened to drown her in adrenaline. "Grab her," someone shouted, their voice intertwined with rising hysteria. The moment cracked open like thunder. The historian felt the old man's hand tighten around her arm, pulling her back as the dagger wielder surged through chaos, desperation driving his every movement. There was no thought of caution, only the dark hunger for power blurring his judgment. "Don't let him near!" The wild-haired woman screamed, her voice cutting through the chaos. But before anyone could act, the beast swiped at the air, shrieking a horrific roar that sent tremors skittering through the ground and hearts alike. Dust billowed up, swirling like a storm of despair, and the villagers faltered, eyes wide and terrified. "Move, or we're all dead!" yelled one of the elders, pushing through the crowd, readying to hold the creature at bay. The historian's mind raced. How was she supposed to protect that tablet now? It wasn't just an object, it was a key to something both dreadful and magnificent. She had to make a choice, and fast as the predator's eyes locked onto her, she felt that ancient pull within her. Was it courage? Or madness? She couldn't tell anymore, but instinct urged her to do something reckless, to fight against the palpable despair. "Stand firm. We can't let it scatter us," she shouted, her voice breaking through the suffocating fear. "We have the strength, we just need to unite." In that moment, she glanced at the old man beside her. His face was taut with resolve, fear and wisdom etched into every line. "What is it you're thinking?" he murmured, scanning the brewing menace of the creature with crystal clarity. That a plan stirred within her, a revelation tugged at her thoughts. "The tablet, it might have power. If I can channel it, perhaps." "Are you mad?" he gasped, eyes widening. "You can't wield that kind of energy without understanding its essence." "I understand enough," she replied, a surge of determination flooding her. The stories she pieced together were weaving themselves into a plan. If darkness calls to darkness, maybe light can scatter it. Maybe the legends weren't just tales. Before he could object, she reached for the tablet, her fingers brushing against the ancient carvings. A warmth flooded through her, and she looked up to see the dagger wielder approaching, his eyes wild with the promise of dominion. "Your game is over, historian," he screeched, lunging forward, dagger raised, intent on claiming what he believed was rightfully his. Time slowed, sweat dripped from her brow, and with a mix of fear and exhilaration, she activated the tablet. Light shot forth, blinding and radiant, battling the shadows creeping up from the beast and the man before her. Around her, villagers shielded their eyes, gasps filling the air as the light expanded, illuminating faces filled with hope and fear. It pulsated, each pulse seeming to resonate with the very heartbeat of their lives. The beast hesitated. It seemed to recoil from the brilliance, and for the first time, doubt flared deep in the dagger wielder's eyes. "Stand with me," she cried, her voice a rallying cry, radiating strength, yet within the swirling light, whispers echoed back, taunting her. What if this power unleashed something unimaginable? What if her attempt to dispel darkness only fed it? As the creature's growl intensified, echoing inside her mind, she realized she might only be adding to the chaos that sought to engulf them all. "Can the ancient texts save us?" she thought. "Or have I triggered a deeper calamity?" The energy of the tablet reached a fever pitch, swirling around her like a tempest, but it would take more than courage to turn the tide. She braced herself, knowing the next moment was everything. Would their faith and bravery be enough to overcome the very monsters they had unleashed? A choice loomed before her, terrifying and vital: embrace the unfolding chaos or try to tame it. In that split second, the forest fell silent, anticipation hanging thick in the air, as the ground shook again beneath their feet. What awaited them when the dust settled? The light from the tablet burst forth like an explosion, ripping through the dark tendrils that surrounded the beast and the dagger wielder alike. Faces turned toward it, beautiful and aglow with an odd mix of terror and hope. Shadows danced mischievously under the sheer brightness, but the historian felt the heat rise within her, coursing through her veins, filling her with determination that was hard to comprehend. "Don't falter!" she shouted into the chaos, her voice carrying above the crackling energy. But beneath her words, she heard her own uncertainty echoing back. Was this strength or folly? The beast, its massive form shaking with raw intensity, reacted to the light as if repelled by its very essence. Claws curled into the earth, lips curling back to reveal teeth sharper than any dagger. It let out a howl, one that sliced through the air like a blade, settling over the crowd like a wave of dread. "Keep it alive!" bellowed the old man, his voice hoarse yet strong. "Bring your will together." She could see the villagers rallying, emboldened by the pulse of the light. They faced their fear, eyes gleaming brighter alongside it. But just as hope flickered, doubt crept through her, a mere whisper at first. What if this light summoned something worse? What if the legends had warned against using such power? The dagger wielder, consumed by a manic desire for control, was unmoved. With wild eyes, he lunged again, aiming for her heart. "No!" She heard herself scream. Instinctively, she raised her hand toward him, the energy swirling around her like a living thing. The beam from the tablet blazed fiercely, and she felt it, a connection, powerful and overwhelming. It was as if the legends themselves spoke through her, urging her to act. In that moment, the light intensified, splitting into multiple rays that darted towards the man. Each beam seemed to pulsate with desperate warnings. His own previous arrogance had bound him to a fate he could not escape. He stumbled backward, eyes wide with realization, a wretched howl escaping his lips. The beast, too, seemed to feel the shift. Shadows writhed around it as if the collective consciousness was pushing back against its dark presence. It stepped back, the fury mingled with an unexpected vulnerability. "Focus!" the historian shouted, her heart thundering in time with the pulsating light. "Draw it in. Push the darkness away!" shouted one of the villagers, emboldened. The collective moment formed an almost musical harmony, voices intertwining, hearts aligned in a fierce solidarity, but just as they began to push back the shadows and the very darkness within the dagger wielder, the ground beneath them wrenched violently. The earth screamed in protest, splitting apart as blinding energy erupted from the jagged cracks. "Oh no!" she gasped, fear spiraling. The ground split wider, enveloping the beast in a plume of debris and dust. But a deeper roar answered from the earth, one that shook the very core of her resolve. All at once, agony burst forth, sorrow, fear, desperation. Something ancient beneath them was awakening. "Run!" she cried, but her voice trembled. Would they be swallowed whole by whatever lay underneath? As the beast lunged again, she caught a glimpse of its fear, reflecting the dread that swirled all around them. Fear surged within the gathered villagers, panic threatened to swallow them whole. What lay in the depths below? What calamity had she inadvertently unleashed? The historian felt her heart race as she faced the swirling shadows once more. With every ounce of bravery, she clutched the tablet tighter, its energy sparking fiercely, crackling with potential. Do we retreat or confront the darkness? She thought, a choice weighing heavier than she could allow herself to carry. Then, before she had time to react, the ground roared again, fissuring wider. Would the very foundation of their world rise to consume them all? But before she knew it, she was taking a step closer, drawn inexplicably to the pulsing energy beneath her feet. What awaited them in the unknown was a choice yet to be made. The dust churned, the earth trembled, and the very air crackled with anticipation. What would happen next? The earth heaved beneath her, the ancient forces below clamoring for release, and the historian felt an electric tingle run through her fingertips. It pulled her irrevocably toward the unfathomable darkness below, a darkness that threatened to consume everything she knew. "Get back!" a villager shouted, scrambling away from the expanding crack, a note of panic thickening his voice. He stumbled over a stone, falling hard, but she didn't take her eyes off the gaping fissure. "Help him!" she cried, but she was torn. The light pulsed again, a beacon dancing above the chaos, and she felt the weight of its promise pressing down on her shoulders. There was something magnificent about it, something that offered not just confrontation but perhaps a chance to heal the rift in the earth, along with the discord that lay within their hearts. "Stay together!" yelled the old man, his voice fighting through the chaos. His eyes burned with a fierce intensity. "This is our moment." The villagers, now united, pulled the fallen man to his feet, their fear feeding into the common bond. She could see determination hardening in their gazes. But on the periphery, the dagger-wielder writhed, the shadows creeping back as if he were the very essence of despair spitting defiance toward the light. The beast loomed nearby, caught in a silent battle of its own. With every tremor of the ground, it oscillated between rage and fear, clawing at the earth as if it sought to escape. But even it recoiled from the churning darkness, sensing that something potent lay just beneath the surface. She heard a whispering roar rise from the chasm, haunting and melodious as if it sang of a terrible history, of battles long forgotten and promises lost. Was it the lament of souls trapped beneath, or something else? The historian dared to edge closer, captivated by the magnetic pull of the unknown. "Do not go closer!" someone screamed, dragging her thoughts back to the present. But she couldn't waver, her legs felt heavy, like they belonged to someone else. With every heartbeat, the energy pulsed, resonating with the very core of her being. Desperate, informed, temporary, the light above them flickered. Shadows began to stretch, creeping closer, wrapping around her heart, squeezing. Was she making a grave mistake? She shot a glance back at the villagers. They were battling their own fears, gripping tightly to the hope the choice was not just hers but belonged to them all. The ground shuddered violently once more. She stumbled, a rush of fear surging through her veins, and grasped the tablet with both hands. "We have to unite. Our will can fight back. We can guide the light." The villagers echoed her sentiment. Voices rose, weaving a tapestry of sound, binding them together as one. The collective courage swelled, growing stronger with every plea and defiant shout. But then it happened. The earth opened wider, a fissure so deep that it swallowed the soil and light alike. A massive shadow erupted from the depths, swirling upward to embrace the air around them. "No!" she gasped, terror rising in her throat. The ground screamed louder than before. Was this it, the darkness swallowing them whole? Amidst the chaos, she felt something unfurl deep inside her. It was the unwavering call of the light, pushing against the encroaching shadows. A revelation surged forward. This wasn't just a battle over life and death, but an echo of the fight for their existence, a fight for unity over discord. Caught in the turmoil of emotion flicked through her heart fear, hope, anger, desperation. The beast, the dagger wielder, and the villagers, all bound within this fractured moment. Then, with a deafening cry, the dark thing that had been summoned from below lunged upward. "Prepare yourselves!" she shouted, knowing they faced their greatest test, but was it too much for them to endure? The light shrieked in protest, rays sizzling toward the encroaching dark. And she wondered, in their desperate fight against what lurked beneath, what secrets would be revealed? What price would they pay for their chance to reclaim their world? The moment seemed exquisite, stretched on the very edge of time itself. Whatever lay beneath was now inching closer, and they had to decide: do they stand firm or run from the shadows that swallowed their courage whole? Her heart raced. Would their light burn bright enough to push back the darkness before it devoured them all? The shadow lunged, twisting through the air like a serpent. All at once, the ground beneath them groaned like a living beast, echoing their unspent fear. She could feel the darkness swelling, wrapping around her like fingers gripping her throat, squeezing the breath from her lungs. "Stand firm!" the old man bellowed again, steadying himself. His presence flickered with defiance against the howling wind that churned as if trying to pull them apart. With a surge of urgency, the historian gripped the tablet tighter, the ancient etchings warm against her palms. Each mark pulsed, seemingly alive, infused with the energy of collective hope. Around her, the villagers stood side by side, eyes wide with terror yet unwavering, as a curtain of shadow loomed above them. Suddenly, the dagger wielder rose, his twisted grin slicing through the darkness. "You think your light can protect you?" he shouted, a voice booming like thunder. "You are fools. The shadows are part of you. You will never escape." Her heart thundered as she locked eyes with him, his malevolence radiating like a black sun. But she felt the villagers' belief anchoring her, grounding her feet to reality. Strategy emerged amid the chaos. The light could not simply push back the darkness, it needed to swallow it whole. "We can do this together," she shouted, her voice strangling panic. Desperation poured from her chest, a promise igniting within her mind. "If we share our light, our courage, it can consume the shadows." Instead of retreating, the villagers stepped forward, forming a shield around her, energy flickering between them like miniature stars in the storm. She could feel their determination, every shattered fear melding into a singular force, a buzz of unified resolve. The ground trembled again. The fissure expanded, revealing more of the horrid maw below. What secrets lay hidden in its depths? She could feel the answers creeping up from her core, begging for release. It was a chance or a curse, the line blurred by urgency. Then, engulfed by the darkness, the beast roared, an unholy sound that shook her to the bone. She instinctively stepped back, but those beside her pressed forward. They would not yield. They would not let despair take root. "Together!" she cried, and the villagers echoed like thunder. "Together!" As if in response, shimmering light pulsed from their hands, intertwining and expanding with each call, growing brighter, overpowering the shadows. Waves of color exploded like fireworks, driving back the encroaching dark. For a moment, it felt like victory was within their grasp, a collective heartbeat, defiance dancing at the edges of despair, yet doubt crept in, fraying at the seams of her courage. What if? She started, but shaking head silenced her. They would not entertain skepticism, but then a flash. The dagger wielder lunged toward her again, shadows trailing like smoke. "You cannot fight what you are," he yelled, his voice laced with venom. With a swift motion, he tossed the dagger into the air, it spinning toward the light, seeking weakness, targeting despair. She felt the jab of panic grip her heart as if the shadows morphed into a single, primal fear. The historian dove instinctively, racing for the tablet, hoping against hope, fighting for a destiny she hadn't chosen yet. The light pulsed, shimmering fiercely like a heartbeat, but would it be enough? Amid the chaos, a chilling thought whispered at the back of her mind, the revelation that could not remain buried any longer. What if they were destined to face this darkness? What if the true battle was one that had simmered for centuries, an echo of a more profound struggle, an ancient feud reborn beneath the ground? In one frantic moment, as the dagger sliced through the air toward its mark, the historian felt time hanging impossibly suspended. Would they remember who they truly were before the darkness claimed everything? Then the light surged forward, and she gasped, realizing, this is only the beginning. And with that fraught realization, the shadows thickened, ready to retaliate in ways they never anticipated. How would they combat what lay ahead, deeper than a single battle? The historian stood resolute among her gathered companions, the light radiating from the tablet acting as a shield against the encroaching darkness. The air crackled with tense energy, and as the dagger flared in the air, she felt time slow to an agonizing crawl. Everything hung in balance, like a single drop of rain poised to fall, destined to either nurture life or drown it. "Don't let fear win," she shouted, nudging her voice above the storm. The villagers held their ground beside her, hearts racing in synchronized rhythm, a pulsating defiance against the shadows that played like phantoms around them. With a sudden intensity, the dagger hurtled toward her, glinting wickedly in the dim light. The beast howled, a mix of anguish and fury, shaking the very earth. She knew the choice was hers, a flickering moment pregnant with consequence. The beast was no mere creature, it was an embodiment of fears deeper than any history she ever unearthed, a living testament to the pain passed down through generations. Now, let the light consume what binds us to this darkness. She urged, and the villagers stepped forward, unity swelling like a tidal wave against the abyss. The dagger danced through the air, a sliver of chaos, but she wasn't paralyzed. With a deep breath, she stretched out her hand toward it, drawing upon the light that swelled from the tablet and surged within her. An explosion of brilliance erupted as her energy intertwined with that of the villagers, swirling in an incandescent vortex that enveloped the dagger with intensity, generating an almost palpable warmth. In that moment, she became aware of the ancient curse, not merely as a threat but as a crucial opportunity for liberation. It dawned on her this hunger for power and chaos could only thrive in isolation, where shadows wrapped secrets tightly. But together, they had strength, together, they could break the cycle of anger and sorrow that had plagued the land. Not today. She shouted as the dagger burned away, fear and hesitation shredded in the wake of determination. The light surged with wild ferocity, expanding to engulf the shadows. It vibrated through the earth, cracking the ground open as if to birth anew. Faces illuminated in that shimmering glow shone with hope, and for the first time, the villagers stepped forward, empowered by a choice, to embrace tomorrow rather than fear it. That illumination captured the beast in its luminescent embrace. It roared and staggered as if caught in a thundercloud of realization, feeling the weight of its own torment stripped away. Its primal cries of fury began to fade, dimmed by the unyielding light that revealed its own vulnerability. Just then, the echoes of its roar morphed, twisting into sounds of sorrow as it transformed. The primordial shadow flickered and pulsed until what stood before them was a monster but a reflection of shared pain, an entity shaped by all those who had suffered, those caught in a web of ancient feuds, just as the villagers had endured. Taking a step forward, the historian realized what this creature represented. "You are not our enemy," she screamed, her voice cutting through the chaos. "You are us. You are our past, and we will not let it define our fates anymore." In her heart, she felt the truth echo. Together, they could rewrite their story. The light started to integrate with the shadows, merging, revealing clarity in the darkness. The villagers rallied, their raised hands becoming a symphony of light dancing between them and the creature. As the shadows receded, the air lightened, fear finally releasing its grip. No longer an enemy, the beast began to dissolve, transforming into wisps of mist, surrendering to the warmth that enveloped them as if thanking them for breaking the curse that tethered it for centuries. With the energy still pulsating from the tablet, the villagers watched in awe, their fears decreasing as the darkness lifted. Slowly but surely, they came together, bridging the gap forged by blood and broken promises, venturing into the land that had witnessed their battles. It seemed the time had finally come for healing and reconciliation. The historian, heart still racing, looked around and saw not just fear but newfound hope reflected in each face. Together, they had unmade history not by erasing it, but by understanding it, accepting the pain, and choosing to embrace the light over the darkness that had haunted them for millennia. "Let us return it," the old man suggested softly, nodding toward the remnants of shadows now fading into memory. "Let us return this unity to the earth and our people. Let us cherish what we've discovered." With grateful determination, she held tightly to the tablet, ready to resurrect the promise it symbolized, a new beginning, a testament to unity beyond time. As the village gathered behind her, lanterns lit the way, illuminating paths toward hope and rebuilding, past pain transforming into a vow never to succumb to the shadows again. The weight of history would guide them, but it was their choice together that would carve a brighter future, and with that, they walked toward the horizon, side by side, forever changed, forever free. Now that you've experienced this journey, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Your thoughts matter. And please don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.